Welcome to Energy Careers, a segment of the Energy Conversations podcast dedicated to exploring opportunities in the dynamic world of the energy sector. For 13 years, I've had the privilege of navigating this sector, and it has significantly shaped my professional and entrepreneurial journey. Join me as we uncover exciting pathways for those interested in making their mark in this exciting sector. Let's dive in. Welcome to another installment of the Energy Careers segment, a segment of the Energy Conversations podcast, which highlights opportunities for young people looking to participate in the energy sector by following the journey of seasoned experts in South Africa's energy sector. In today's episode, we will be discovering the energy journeys of Dr. Crompton and Fani Tshifularo. If I may start with you, Dr. Rod, how did you get involved in the energy sector? What did you study, and what has been your career path up until this point?
Well, I blame apartheid for being involved in this industry. I did an honours degree in geography, but I worked in the non-racial trade union movement as General Secretary of the Chemical Workers Industrial Union for 15 years. We organised and represented petroleum workers, and towards the end of apartheid, the then government made some really stupid decisions, which led to strikes and boycotts and so on. And as a result of that, a tripartite thing called the Liquid Fuels Industry Task Force was set up to deal with all of these problems and subsidies to Sasol and pricing funds and so on. That had a good effect, and it later has become law, and we now have this tripartite sort of arrangement called NEDLAC. But it was born out of that, and in that process, I learned a lot negotiating with the oil companies and with the government about how to do these sort of things. And we put in place things like transparency of the petrol price. Remember, it had been a secret under apartheid. How was the petrol price arrived at? Where, the oil tankers had no branding on them. It was illegal to take photographs of ships discharging fuel in the harbors and things like that. So it's a bit of an unconventional beginning. And then later, when I did my PhD, it was on petrochemicals, which had a lot to do, it's like the flip side of oil refining and so on. So I learned a lot about that when I was doing my PhD. And then democracy sort of arrived, and I ran a policy center doing research to help the incoming democratic government establish proper policies for the energy sector. And then later I was drawn into government, worked a bit in trade industry, and for several years I was the regulator of the petrol price at the Department of Minerals and Energy, as it was then. And later I was a regulator at NERSA, the National Energy Regulator. And now, after I did the maximum terms I could there, I consulted for a bit in various African countries on these sort of subjects. And now in the process of retiring from being an academic at Wits Business School after having set up the African Energy Leadership Centre there. So we are trying to put back, some of us, what we learned through that. I call it the University of the Street, because we learned on our feet and we learned from struggles in the street how things happened. And we're trying to give people a kickstart by giving them qualifications or helping them learn what's going on in the industry.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Rod. A very interesting and exciting life that's been lived. A career spanning across public sector, private sector, and now academia. So a lot to learn from you. And I think it's quite encouraging that people like yourselves have taken it upon yourselves to be able to recognize the wealth of experience and expertise that you have to be able to pour back into the next generation. Fani, please could you share a bit about your journey? How did you get involved in the energy sector? What did you study, and what has been your career path up to this point?
Wow, that's a very interesting question, because I think the first time I heard the word energy, it was in an economics class when I was at University of Venda. And but obviously there was not much talked about the liquid fuels industry, because it was very secretive industry. So that also kind of draw fascination, but there was not much you can get about it. I studied a Bachelor's of Arts degree in education, 4-year degree. And I immediately, when I finished my studies, I came to Joburg because I had an uncle who was working in Joburg, and I just got to work in a school which is today called Adelaide Tambo School for the Special Kids in White City, Jabavu. So I think that was kind of a rude awakening experience for me. I was not prepared for that. I was a bit young, so I was kind of traumatized. While I was there, I picked up an article. I think it was in the Star newspaper. I think it was in the workplace section that the Dr. Crompton, he talked about the MEPC, the organization that he was running, the Minerals and Energy Policy Center. Under that, there was a training body called MITI, Minerals Energy Education Training Institute. So they were looking for people, which today you will say like maybe it's a learnership or internship, to go through this process where they get introduced into the energy and minerals sector. These are people who are prepared to be deployed into various organizations, Black people coming into this. I think we were 11 or 12 of us. We were the second cohort. There were people who have gone before us. And you go into that knowing that it's a 6-month program. You are not guaranteed any employment. I leave full-time job. I went into this. Then I went through this. After that, I think I went and had a stint at the Department of Minerals and Energy. Funny enough, I think somehow Dr. Crompton, I followed him there into the Department of Minerals and Energy. It's amazing that today I'm talking in this podcast with him. But while I was there, then again, there was an opportunity for somebody to lead a division within SARS, South African Revenue Service, to deal with the issue that you talked about earlier on in terms of illegal mixing of paraffin and diesel. Then, I end up landing at SARS, looking at petroleum tax compliance issues. And I spent 5 years there at SARS as well. And while I was there, then I started to deal a lot with tax managers from the oil companies. And when there was an opportunity at SAPIA for somebody to advise the industry on compliance issues and also fuel price issues, then I was approached by somebody within the industry to say there's an opportunity, Cape Town, and I went through that process. That's how I joined SAPIA some 20 years ago. So in between, while I was in Cape Town, I decided to also further my studies. I went to University of Stellenbosch. I enrolled for a master's degree in future studies, which is what I managed to achieve while I was in the Western Cape. So that's really I've been the executive director of SAPIA. I spent the 5 years in the position of advisory, advisor to the oil industry on tax and pricing issues. Then for the last 15 years, I've been the executive director of SAPIA.
Thank you very much for that, Fani. A very interesting journey and also quite the transition from where you had started in your career, but I think also highlights the fact that it's never too late and that the industry is open if you just take up the necessary opportunities, like we saw with your story where there was an opportunity to be part of this program and you were willing to risk it all, and I guess the outcome of it has been a very long and fruitful career in the energy sector. Maybe a final question for you both. Dr. Rod, I'll start with you. What advice would you give a young person or anyone looking to make a career in the energy sector or participate in the energy sector in some way?
First, you need a good undergraduate qualification. Then I would suggest you try to get some work experience in the energy sector and then come to us at Wits Business School and do either the honours level course or the Masters in Energy Leadership. And maybe if you really want to, the PhD. These days, the energy disciplines are no longer separate silos. They are much more interconnected. Gas and electricity, fuels and gas and so on. So the kind of energy leadership courses we have deal with that new complexity. it's no good being an expert in just one thing. So we are trying to educate the new layer of leadership for energy in Africa, and I would suggest you try to belong to that and get into one of those programs and do that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rod. And I think the effort and the work that's been done by the African Energy Leadership Center has really been tremendous. And the caliber of graduates that have been coming out of that center really will be the future leaders in energy. Fani, what advice would you give a young person or anyone looking to make a career in energy or participate in the sector?
So obviously get, a qualification. There are so many areas that you can really choose within the energy sector. And with a qualification, that helps you really to narrow down where you want to go, as well as you must always, as a young person, be you must be ambitious and always look out for opportunities, because opportunities they are not just going to come and knock at your door. You need to look for them. Fortunately, nowadays, there's just so many people that you can talk to. Unlike during my time, there were very few people that I would know that they work in the energy space. Nowadays, there are a lot of people that you can approach just for a discussion, just to understand. If there's an area that you want to pursue, you follow that. There is just so many places where you can just go and study, just to understand more about a particular subject. There is nothing that beats having a qualification of some sort, because that nobody's going to take away from you. So many other things, you can have a lot of money today, can disappear, but with the knowledge that you have acquired from studying something, it stays with you. Nobody is going to take away from you. But having achieved a qualification, try to work around what you think that is where you want to go. Try to have your own path that you carve for yourself and follow it with discipline, because the rewards are not going to come tomorrow. Yes, there are people who are have got instant rewards, but that's not the norm. You need to stay the course. Otherwise, you are not going to ever be able to talk about a topic with authority. If you're going to stay for 2 years, you move on. Stay for another year, you move on. You will never talk with authority on any subject matter. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I think what's clear is stay the course, but to both of your points, start somewhere, and a qualification is really important. Get that qualification, but also beyond just getting a qualification, get the necessary experience, make yourself available, be open to meeting people that are within the sector so that they can actually share with you their journeys and provide you with the right guidance and mentorship. Thank you very much to the two of you for your invaluable insights. And that brings us to the end of this segment of the Energy Careers segment. Looking forward to hearing from our experts in our next episodes. Thank you again for tuning in. Tune in next time.
Thank you for tuning into Energy Careers, where we explore the endless possibilities in the energy sector. Don't miss out on future episodes where we'll feature more inspiring journeys and insights on how to embark on your own energy career path. Subscribe now to the Energy Conversations podcast and unlock the door to exciting opportunities in the dynamic world of energy. Your journey begins here.